Bismillah, Bismillah. Okay? Alright. Bismillah. Alright, this time round you were at Surah Fatiha, right? So let me just read it. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Number 4. Alright. Reciting Surah Fatiha except for one who is due to him and other reasons. Reciting the Basmala and the Tasheed contained in it are all part of the Fatiha. To recite Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, all that Surah Fatiha. Last week I showed you all the text of Surah Fatiha. And I mentioned to all of you to memorize Surah Fatiha. Telling for yourself is to be able to write down Surah Fatiha. So if you down Surah Fatiha correctly, that means you have not memorized correctly. so telling that, sit down there in Arabic, of course, right? And also the shaddas up, put in the harakats, and if you have actually memorized Surah Fatiha correctly or not, right? So it's just a matter of sitting down out Surah Fatiha. But الفاتحة إلى لمعذور لسبق وغيره ولا is all from Fatiha. And in a hadith Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ كتاب. Right, there is no prayer for the one who does not recite the Fatiha or the opening of the book, meaning Surah Fatiha. Right, so every shadda in Surah Fatiha is counted as Surah Fatiha, right, because a shadda is a doubling up of a letter. Just count letters Fatiha. Right, I'm going to go into I mentioned it before earlier on Allahumma Sayyidina Muhammad, on the masbuq, and when the masbuq is required to, and when a person is required to finish Fatiha, and when a person is able to Fatiha and continue with the Imam. So again with the year ones in Safin Najah, so I actually have the notes all written out, right? So I'm just going to share my whiteboard. It's all there. Right. Today I just went through the year ones, the same thing. As you mentioned that are there over and over. Whiteboard. Not this one. Okay, you all can see in the whiteboard. Right, so seems like it's too big. I'll try and get it to be smaller. Can you see it? Okay, done. Just get it into the frame of recording. Okay, right, so the first thing is that the only person who is excused from the Fatiha is the masbuq. Right, so therefore, and it's all revision for you all, It should be revision, You should be very, very familiar links of the masbuq. Right, so the first thing first is that before a person can decide to stop their Fatiha halfway when the Imam has gone into ruku', that person must first decide or must first understand, is he a masbuq or not? You have to be a masbuq before you can continue your prayer without doing the Fatiha. Must be a masbuq. So who is a masbuq? A masbuq, it is a person who enters the prayer behind an Imam and does not have enough time to recite the Fatiha. Right? And this inability to recite Surah Fatiha in time is due to his late coming, not due to his slowness in recitation, nor due to the Imam's how fast the Imam was in reciting, right? But it is due to his late coming, right? That's because he came in late. That's why he didn't have enough time to recite the Surah Fatiha. So for the ruling for the masbuq is that the masbuq can and in fact must, right? Can and must stop the Fatiha halfway wherever he's at when the Imam ruku'. So the masbuq comes into the prayer, then the Imam goes Allahu Akbar. The masbuq must stop his Fatiha wherever he's at and continue and follow with the Imam in the ruku'. The Imam will carry the Fatiha of the masbuq. Okay, the Imam carries the Fatiha of the masbuq. This is by two main scenarios. The first scenario is that he enters the prayer while the Imam is still standing. Right, the Imam is still standing, and so what must he do? I'm going to put this in red. He must immediately, begin with reading the Fatiha straight away. Only the wajib. Okay, this is what the masbuq should be doing. Right, so when you come to the prayer, you see the Imam praying, he's still standing. When you enter the prayer, you must, especially for a quiet prayer, you can't tell where is the Imam. Right, so it's a quiet prayer. The Imam is praying, he's standing. You come to the prayer, Allahu Akbar, you come in, straight away begin Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Do not spend any time doing any of the sunnahs, because you need to get in as much of the Fatiha as you are able to get in. Alright, so if the Imam, without reciting any of the sunnahs, meaning dua iftitah, no ta'awuz. Now, what is ta'awuz? Ta'awuz is a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. So, move to the ruku', the Masbuq must stop his Fatiha at wherever he's at and ruku' with the Imam. Hence, the Imam carries his Fatiha, the remaining of his Fatiha, and that raka'at is counted for him. Alright, it counts because he. Okay, now comes the question: what if the Masbuq automatically did sunnahs? Right, so he comes to the prayer, right, and then straight away he goes, Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, wa subhanallahi bukrata wa asila. Right, so if he did sunnahs, then when the Imam did the takbir to go into ruku', the Masbuq, right, this person has to continue reading Fatiha long enough to cover the time he spent doing sunnahs. So simple. If he just said A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, that was all he said. There is a sunnah. Right? So therefore, he needs to just recite one more ayat. Just one more ayat in Surah Fatiha, and then he can go into his ruku'. So that, for example, he began A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, then he goes into Surah Fatiha. So maybe when he reached the part Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Imam Allahu Akbar ruku'. All he has to say is Ihdina siratal mustaqim, because that covers more or less the amount of time it takes to say A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. It's about the same amount of time. It's about one ayat. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim is about one ayat. Okay, however, if he began his prayer, and if the Imam is a Masbuq, and he began by saying Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, wa subhanallahi bukrata wa asila, wajjahtu wajhiya, into the end of Surah Iftitah, of Dua Iftitah. Dua Iftitah is actually in fact longer than Fatiha. It could be longer than Fatiha. So if he spent his entire time doing Dua Iftitah, and then he goes on saying A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, he did the full sunnahs, and then he goes Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Imam ruku'. Imam Allahu Akbar, Imam ruku'. What does he do now? He has to finish his Fatiha, because the time that he spent doing all the sunnahs, he could have done Fatiha. Right? So he must finish Fatiha, because Dua Iftitah is roughly as long as Surah Fatiha. If he reads Dua Iftitah halfway, for example, he goes Allahu Akbar kabira, walhamdulillahi kathira, then he stopped. Then he remembered he's supposed to just go into Fatiha straight away because he's a Masbuq. So he stopped there and he goes Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So again, how much time did he spend on Dua Iftitah? About one ayat. About one ayat of Surah Fatiha. So when the Imam ruku', he just reads one more ayat of Surah Fatiha, and then he ruku' together with the Imam. If he gets the Imam for a level of Tuma'nina, he got the raka'at in the ruku'. So the Imam is in the ruku', he needs to be in the ruku' together with the Imam for a level of Tuma'nina. So for example, if the Imam, he's reading Surah Fatiha, the Imam ruku' Allahu Akbar the Fatiha, because he spent time on the sunnahs, right? So he continues his Fatiha, right? Then when he waladhdallin amin, he goes Allahu Akbar. As he's going down, the Imam Sami Allahu liman hamida, Imam gets up. And the Imam gets up. So at this point, he did not get the Imam in ruku' for Tuma'nina, which means he's like the Masbuq who missed the ruku'. He is like the Masbuq who missed the ruku'. Right? So which means that raka'at not counted for him. Like after the entire prayer, he has to do one more raka'at. Okay? But if let's say, after he finishes, let's say for example, he reads one more ayat, because he did the ta'awuz, he did one more ayat, so he goes, Maliki yawmiddin, Imam ruku'. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, he ruku'. He got the Imam for level of Subhanallah, Imam Sami Allahu liman hamida. Dapat. Okay, he gets the raka'at. Okay, he got the raka'at. He continued praying as usual. Okay, so if he gets the ruku' with Tuma'nina. He must get the ruku' with Tuma'nina, right? When the Imam and then therefore he gets the raka'at. Otherwise, he does not get the raka'at. Okay, second situation, Ma'mum does not know. Okay, this is not a situation, but basically it's all notes lah. Notes. There are only two situations. So the stars tell you like just to note lah. Okay, note. If the Ma'mum does not know where the Imam is in his recitation, you just consider yourself as Masbuq. Right? So you say, well, what if I come into the prayer and the imam is actually still in Fatiha? So I have plenty of time. Technically, I can do my dua iftitah, I can do other things, right? But as long as you don't know for sure where is the imam, you were not there when the imam began his prayer. If you were there when the imam began his prayer, for example, you were getting ready, putting on your clothes, putting on your prayer garment, and you saw the imam begin the prayer, so you roughly have an idea where's the imam. So if you have roughly an idea where the imam is, then it's possible you're not a masbuq. Because you came into prayer shortly after the imam, it is not possible that the imam has finished his Fatiha and began the surah at that point, because you were there and you saw. And you saw how long the imam has already been in his prayer. Right? So you're technically not a masbuq, you're like someone who joined the prayer, like the person who joined the prayer from the beginning. See, if the ma'mum knows where the imam is, right? So if you know where the imam is, for example, you were there from the beginning of the prayer, you saw the imam begin the prayer. No, you didn't begin the prayer, but you saw the imam begin the prayer. You kind of know where the imam is at, or the imam is reading out loud. You can hear the imam reading Fatiha, right? So the ma'mum listens to the imam. The ma'mum listen to the imam first. Apa listen to the imam first? The ma'mum listen to the imam first. Then the ma'mum read surah Fatiha. Correct? Edit my, I don't know what I was writing here. The ma'mum listen to imam first. Correct, Allah. Okay, ma'mum listen to imam first, right? And this ma'mum is not counted as masbuq. Why not? Right? Because this ma'mum, he's like the guy who began the prayer together with the imam. Correct? So when the ma'mum come into the prayer, even though you come a bit late, right? The imam is still doing Fatiha. So technically, you cannot begin your Fatiha at all. Because you have to wait for the imam to finish his Fatiha. So you are on the same standing as the person who was there from the first takbir. You're on the same standing. So once the imam finishes his Fatiha, all of you who are there already in the saf praying, regardless of when you join the prayer during the Fatiha, the time of the Fatiha, you're all on the same kind of same ground. So you're all going to begin Fatiha at this point together, right? When the imam ends his Fatiha, all the ma'mum begin their Fatiha. So whether someone had joined from the first takbir, or someone had joined from Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, or someone had joined from Waladdallin Ameen, you're all on the same level. Right? So once the imam finishes, all of you begin your Fatiha together after the imam, quietly to yourself, of course. You're not masbuq. You're not masbuq. Right? Why? Because you're the same as the guy who was there from the beginning. You have the same chance to finish Fatiha. So you're not counted as masbuq. You have to finish your Fatiha. Right? That's the biggest point about knowing if you are masbuq or not. If you're not masbuq, you must finish Fatiha. If you are masbuq, you don't have to finish Fatiha. You can stop your prayer wherever. You can stop your recitation wherever wherever the imam does his ruku'. Okay, I hope that one is clear. Second point here. The imam enters, or the ma'mum enters the prayer when the imam is in ruku'. This is very clear and obvious because you miss Fatiha altogether, right? There is no Fatiha reading here because you enter the prayer, the imam already in ruku'. Be very careful. Takbir while standing. Hold the standing for tuma'nina. Don't read anything. Then takbir and you get the ruku' with the imam, the level of tuma'nina, you got the raka'at. Otherwise, you miss the raka'at. What should you do if you miss the raka'at? Continue praying, then at the end of the prayer, make up one more raka'at. Okay? I hope that one is clear. Any questions, just ask on the chat. Okay, now comes the situation of you not being masbuq, because we're at the point of Fatiha, right? And the first statement that he says here, إِلَّا لِمَعْزُورٍ لِسَبَقٍ وَغَيْرِهِ, except for the masbuq. Fatiha is wajib, except for the masbuq. Right? So previously we spoke about who is the masbuq. So if you realize that you are a masbuq, in a sense that you're unable to get Fatiha in your standing because of late coming. Because of late coming, and not because you're slow or the imam's too fast. But because of late coming, you couldn't get your Fatiha in. Right? Then you are considered to be a masbuq. If you are not a masbuq, you are non-masbuq. Who's a non-masbuq? The one who began the prayer together with the imam, or began when the imam had not finished Fatiha yet. You're like that guy, right? Who is from there from the beginning, or the imam had not finished Fatiha yet for loud prayer, so therefore you begin your Fatiha together with everybody else. For this person, they are not masbuq. They must finish Fatiha no matter what. ruling must finish Fatiha no matter what. Because you are wajib on, okay, under the integrals of prayer, Fatiha wajib on you. First scenario, you are too slow, right? Or you cannot concentrate when the Imam is reciting a surah. You just cannot, for the life of you, cannot concentrate on Surah Fatiha. Or the Imam is way too fast, right? Now in the Sharia, and therefore you're given 3 long rukuns to catch up with the Imam. This one I will go into it a bit more when we reach to the Mubtilat Salat, of what nullifies the prayer. Remember, what nullifies the prayer is if you were to lag behind the Imam for 2 rukuns, correct? 2 rukuns, whether it's long or short, 2 rukuns. Unless you have an excuse. If you have a valid excuse, like for example, Imam too fast, you too slow, a valid excuse, then you're given up to the 3rd long rukun to catch up. What is the 3rd long rukun? The long rukuns are the standing with Fatiha, ruku and sujud. These are all the long rukuns. I'tidal, short rukun. Sitting between the 2 sujuds, short rukun. So the 3rd long rukun here, you will say the first one, right? The second one is the first sujud. And the 3rd one is before the Imam finishes the 2nd sujud, and you have a valid excuse why you're being so slow, right? Or why you're not with the Imam, you need to have moved into ruku' before the Imam has finished his 2nd sujud. If you have a valid excuse why you're lagging behind. If you have no valid excuse why you're lagging behind, and it's I put it here, I'll go through it, right? Then you need to move into ruku' before the Imam leaves his i'tidal. Rukun to be from the i'tidal, because ruku' and then i'tidal. I hope you all are following me, because we've gone through this in Safinatun Najah. Right, so all the countries of Najah. So example here, Imam moves into ruku', you still Fatiha, continue. Imam goes i'tidal, it's short, right? Ruku' is the first long rukun, right? You still Fatiha, continue. The Imam moves first sujud, second long rukun. You still Fatiha, still very slow in the Fatiha, continue. Right, the Imam sits after sujud, short rukun, short rukun. You still Fatiha, continue. Okay, now Imam goes into 2nd sujud, 3rd long rukun. You still Fatiha, you must finish Fatiha. You must quickly finish your Fatiha and move into the ruku' before Imam gets up from the 2nd sujud for you to get the raka'at, otherwise, or to get the prayer, otherwise your prayer batal. Otherwise your prayer is nullified. And you have to start praying again, redo your prayer. Okay, last part. If Ma'mum has no valid excuse, this is actually I was explaining to them the year ones on okay, actually for here I'm explaining this to you all with regards to the condition of the prayer of reading Fatiha. Right, that was the earlier slide and the earlier page. I said the Ma'mum has no valid excuse, for example, daydreaming, right? Ma'mum daydreaming the entire time. Imam finished a long surah after Fatiha. He had plenty of time to do his Fatiha, but he did not do his Fatiha. Then eventually the Imam goes, Allahu Akbar, Imam ruku'. Then the Ma'mum, to his horror, he goes, I read Fatiha. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Didn't read Fatiha. Forgot to read Fatiha. The whole time daydreaming. So now what must he do? He must read Fatiha because he was there from the beginning. He is not masbuq. He cannot just be, even for the masbuq, if he was daydreaming in the first part, he needs to read enough of Fatiha to cover up for his daydreaming because he could have done Fatiha instead of daydreaming, right? So he's only given 2 rukuns to lag behind. Okay, not long nor short, but just 2 rukuns, right? Long and short, counting long, counting short. Okay, 2 rukuns to lag behind. So he must finish his Fatiha and ruku' before the Imam moves into sujud. Must finish Fatiha and ruku' before the Imam moves into sujud. Right? If he lag behind more than 2 rukun, then the prayer is nullified. He must recite his prayer. And now as a masbuq. Right? So the rakat is of course not counted. Okay, 1. Okay. Bismillah. Okay. Because my recording is not, it doesn't seem to be recording. I hope it's recording. Okay. Naam. Okay, so making up rak'ats after the Imam. This is, I hope you all not having this misconception. However, many raka'ats you get with the imam. Once the imam finishes the prayer, you get up and continue from that number of raka'ats. You're not doing a cut paste of missed raka'ats. So what do I mean by this? This is actually quite a big misconception of society, that they think that if you miss the first and second raka'at, you are just doing the first and raka'at of the prayer at the end of your prayer. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. All you're doing is that you're continuing from where you're at. Okay, so for example, if you miss the first and second rak'ats of Maghrib and you only got the third rak'at with the Imam, once the Imam ends and you get up to the 2 more rak'ats, you are now on your second rak'at of Maghrib. Therefore, you do the first tahiyah. Right? And then when you pray, when you get up to the third rak'at, you're on the third rak'at of Maghrib, you do the tahiyah again. What is wrong is that people think they are making up the first raka'at when they get up after the imam has finished, because they missed the first raka'at, right? So they don't do the tahiyah. That is wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. You are on your second raka'at. You're not making up the first raka'at. You have done the first raka'at with the imam, even though you say I did tahiyah for the raka'at, because you're following the imam, right? So you're continuing from where you're at, but you're not doing a cut and paste, of the first raka'at into the second part. So for example, if because I had a question from from quite a number of students, whereby they do 3 rak'ahs with the imam, is Zohor, right? Zohor 3 rak'ahs with the imam. Then they're getting up for the 4th rak'at. They are doing a paste, right, or cut and paste of the first rak'at of Zohor. So after sujud, they get up in the 4th rak'at, after sujud, they get up and they salams. They did the salam. Where's the tahiyah? So because they're doing a replacement of the first rakat. No, you're not doing a replacement of the first rakat. You're doing your 4th rakat. It's not a replacement of the first rakat. Right? So if someone does that, prayer batal. Prayer batal, because where's your tahiyatul akhir? Where's your last tahiyah? However, if someone makes a mistake about like this Maghrib situation, and they don't do the tahiyah for the second raka'at, thinking it's the first raka'at and pace, right? Then it does not batalkan their prayer, because first tahiyah is not wajib, it's sunnah. This only becomes problematic if people think they are doing their first raka'at at the end and they fail to do the tahiyah because they're thinking they're on the first raka'at, so they salamed after sujud. Salah, that is wrong. They should do the tahiyah because they're on the 4th raka'at. Okay, I hope you all are clear on that. Any question is asked. I'm going back to our text. I think my internet is it's not responding. I'm trying to share screen. Allah, sila. I'm trying to share screen. Okay, coming back to here. Tamam. I saw Fatiha. Only the one who is in the book is else, right? I use the word it's amongst the Arabs. The Arabs tend to say walau it's maghdubi. You go maghdubi. It's all saying maghdubi. Our society, we tend to repeat dal with a ghayril maghdubi. And you go do, it's not do. So the mispronunciation of the ha and the ha and the and the Allah. So it's zina. Also ar-Rahman, not be very careful that there be no mispronunciation. That's meaning if you mispronounce letters. And in Surah Fatiha, and the Fatiha, so that Fatiha is broken. If one was to be intentionally removed period of time. So if someone goes Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Alamin, then they pause. For some taking a thing or whatever, they pause. Just pause their Fatiha. If you remain silent for a long period of time, a long period of time is more into tumanina, right? So long period of time is more into tumanina. Then if you remain silent, then your Fatiha batal. Your Fatiha batal. You have to restart. Your Fatiha. There has to be a continuity in the Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Okay, right. So or remaining silent as there is the intention to break recitation with or with remember. Right. So to intending to break the recitation, then you have already broken the recitation of Surah Fatiha. However, things about is beyond your control. For example, sneezing. but you don't say Alhamdulillah. Right? Sneeze, don't do the zikr. Right? But you continue if it's something that is unable. Right? But you're allowed to do it, and the Imam has finished his Fatiha, and you're saying Ameen. The Imam is wondering why the Imam is doing Fatiha. Right? The Imam is saying Ameen. Right? The Imam. This might happen if a person is unable to get the Fatiha in after the Imam, and while it's not recommended, it's not wrong. Right? So like, and I'll give this as a suggestion. They find that they cannot focus on their Fatiha while the Imam is doing a surah, or they can't in while the Imam is reading the surah. Right? So, and then every single prayer they will lack more than two, and they get very, very panicky. You know what to do. Just recite your surah Fatiha together with it. Right? Because they have an excuse, and they don't want every single prayer they miss out on the first rak'at. Every single, because they can focus with it. So time being, while you're still trying to get your Fatiha strong, you can just do it together with the Imam. Right? Especially if it makes it easy for you to follow the Fatiha, you can follow the prayer. But it's discouraged, right, to do that. You're supposed to be listening to the Imam while the Imam does his Fatiha. Right? But it's just a matter of darurah, whereby someone is unable to focus. So except when when it's recommended in the prayer to make remembrance or saying Ameen or or to sujood for tila Imam's recitation. Right? For example, okay, so for the first time Ameen to do the Imam was doing Fatiha, so the Imam ended first Ameen, you are allowed to stop the Imam because that is a sunnah. Or Imam is reciting ayat Fatiha. Right? So he's finished his Fatiha, he goes on in the Quran reading, right, recitation. So you you can pause your Fatiha and respond to those verses and then continue your Fatiha. Or the Imam reads verses, you can actually pause your Fatiha on the verse in the Imam is talking. You're doing Fatiha with your tongue and your is listening to the Imam, mashallah. And then the Imam as well, mashallah. If you all this, okay, most of what happens to people is the pronunciation. Right? So you're doing Fatiha halfway, the Imam reads an ayat of sujood, the Imam goes into sujood. Right? You are to stop your then sujood with the Imam, come back up and continue. I know doing that. Or if you're doing your Fatiha halfway and the Imam begins that ayat in the Quran that he's reciting, again, you must pinpoint what the Imam is doing wrong in his Quran reading while you are, mashallah. I mean, there are people who can do that. Actually stop your Fatiha halfway, correct the Fatiha. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Number 5, the minimum, and it is to bend both of the hands, until both palms to the knees. Right, so until it can reach, it is not compulsory to reach, but put your knees is sunnah, right, and to grasp the knees is sunnah. And before, the rule of thumb is that anything, no, it's right? Anything before, fingers are all spread out, right? So when you takbir, fingers spread out. When you fold your arms, fingers spread out. When you grasp your knees for ruku', fingers spread out. Right? When you i'tidal again, takbir again, fingers spread out. After i'tidal is fingers together all the time. So sujood, fingers together. The true sujood is fingers together. Right? So the first half of the prayer, fingers above the knee. Second half of the prayer, after i'tidal, fingers, whatever you do, fingers are together. Tamam? Alright. So it's very easy, right? Now, not easy lah. I know when my fingers are supposed to be together, when they're supposed to be apart. Right, so in the sunnah, all sunnah anyway, right, for us to increase our sunnahs in our prayer. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Do I have Fatiha in the letters? Did I go through? I can't remember. Did I go through Surah Fatiha or not in the prayer? Where is my video? I can't see anybody now. Okay. Naam. Okay. Okay, there appear pula. Okay. Did I go through Surah Fatiha you all? No, I didn't. Should I do that? Do Surah Fatiha again? Okay, I go through lah. Just to point out where we should point out. Where should we focus on the common mistakes? Because all of you here also are gonna teach, inshallah, in the future. So when you teach also, be able to tell people, right, where to look out for. Okay. Naam. Very lagging. I can't go. Okay, this is Surah Fatiha. Hope this is okay. It's so lagging. Okay, tamam. Alright, let's do highlight Okay, Surah Fatiha, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Right, so take note of all the shaddas on the raw especially. For raw, while the ruling here is supposed to be thick, and I hope you have learned kan, when raw is thick and raw is thin. Right, so while the raw, a thick or a thin raw does not change the meaning of the word. Right, so while the tajweed is that you should make it thick, if you fail to make it thick, it does not change the